Hi, I'm Donald Austin, and thanks for joining our webinar today. I'm a director with OnePacific here in Hong Kong. So today we're going to talk about a few things. One is outsourced manufacturing. This is the first of our series on processes for sourcing clients. So we'll talk about outsourced manufacturing. We'll talk about e-commerce and how to get involved in that. And we're also going to have vendor management and a few other things. But this is the first in the series. So thanks for joining us. We're going to cover outsourced manufacturing, which is a key component that we're seeing a lot of clients get involved with now. And then we're also going to talk about some other automation tools and tricks and things that you can do to add value once you get up and running with the outsourced manufacturing. So outsourced manufacturing. So what's the business value? So it adds value and provides a high return on investment in a number of ways. One, it increases automation, reduces manual overhead, and those are related. It increases your visibility and control of production. And then for the finance and accounting team, it really improves the accounting and reporting for this type of process. And we'll talk a little bit more about that after we go through an example. But there are a lot of benefits that we see. Now, why do we see clients doing this? The world is more competitive, and we see clients either designing their own products or moving up into more advanced, more high-quality products. And these are often hard to find from a single source, right? So multiple steps are now required to produce the product that's ready for sale to your customers. You can't find the one thing you need with a single supplier. So this is where the outsourced manufacturing comes in. Manufacturing companies have been doing this for a while, but again, we're seeing it now more and more with sourcing companies, so it's sort of a hybrid process. But you're now relying on third parties to complete some or all of your products. Now, there's some benefits in that it frees up your organization to focus what it does best, such as product design and other customer-focused activities. But it is a multi-step process now that you have to manage, and in a lot of cases you'll own inventory as well, so that has to be accounted for. But when we talk about outsourced manufacturing, we're really talking about automating this process so it goes faster, it can be managed more easily, and you get better information. Now, you can do it from two ways. You can start it from a purchase order perspective, or you can look at it from a work order perspective, and it really depends how your company is organized. Most sourcing companies, because they're very familiar with the purchasing cycle, start with looking at it from a purchase order perspective. So we'll start with that as well. But let's just take a sample. So pretend we're a bike manufacturer. So we have two components, right? We have bike seats and we have wheels that we buy. So we buy those and then we send those to a manufacturer, and they provide the frame, and then they do the assembly and the production, right? So maybe it's a high quality bike, right? So we can buy seats, we can buy tires, but there's something very special about the frame. We can't make that ourselves, so we want someone else to do it for us. So that's kind of where it comes into place. So we actually now have a bill of materials. So I'm a sourcing company, but I might have a bill of materials. And then I go through an assembly process. But I don't want to manage those steps individually. I don't want to manage those in spreadsheets or via email. I want the system to handle it for me. So some key components as you look at this is you as the company, you own inventory or raw material and or you supply it during the process. You have a contract manufacturer and they do their costing at an item level. So there may be things like they may have an MOQ or things like that, but you're still able to cost at an item level. Now you could have multiple contract manufacturers and steps. This is a relatively simple example, but it could be much more complex. And then you have a component inventory that you plan for at the contract manufacturer. So in this case, I have a number of seats, I have a number of wheels. I have to plan for the number of frames as well. And we won't show all the examples, but it can get much more complex where you get into maybe some are broken or you have certain yield or things like that. But we'll keep it relatively straightforward for this example. So a flow from a purchase order, right? So this is very simple. I have a purchase order, and then I have several different items on that purchase order. This is for a company called the purchase orders to a company called Absolute Wheels. and there's some different things I'm asking them for. Now, this is where the automation really comes in handy. So if I'm a sourcing company, I have a purchase order just like I always did, but the way I set it up in the system, and the system we use is Oracle NetSuite, it automatically generates a work order. So basically it handles the manufacturing process for me in the background, so I don't have to worry about it. So my work orders are released, I can track my production process through these work orders, and then I can close out the purchase orders and do the accounts payable when it's actually done and the product is delivered. So that's where the automation comes in. Now, if I'm more of a manufacturing focused company, I may start with a work order. So in this case, I just create a work order. I have 3 work orders here, for example, but notice they're to different vendors. One is to the Absolute Wheels company, or 2 are, and then there's another one to a different company for making scooters. So in this case, the system is going to automatically consolidate the purchase orders based on the subsidiary and the vendor into a single order. So I don't have to manage this process. Again, it's automated. I create my work orders for what I want, and then the system automatically generates the purchase order for that particular vendor. And then, like we saw earlier, it handles you can handle the tracking of the production, where the inventory is at any point in time, where the finished goods are, and what's actually an assembly process. All that's handled by the system automatically. So there's a lot you can do with it. This was just, I didn't go into the detail examples, but there's really a lot you can track with this. And by automating it, you give your organization the ability to really to scale up and to do more and more and more. So some of the key benefits, again, the outsourcing provides you with the ability to focus time and resources on what you do best. So, tracking manufacturing status and where products are is not probably what you want to focus on. So the system does that for you. It allows you to free up cash so you can invest in more valuable areas, such as revenue generating activities. So, for example, product development or more customer relationship management. In the bike example, I don't want to have space to manage the storing of the frames and putting the whole bikes together. So that the cash I would spend on that is freed up for something else. Now, improves visibility, so it's easy to manage specifications. These can all be included on the purchase orders and the work orders. Managed by inventory, so a lot of sourcing companies aren't used to having inventory. It manages that inventory now, even if you only own it for a short period of time. Locations, it's integrated with any planning systems you might use. And there's other steps. So basically, you're in a better position to see where you are in the process of assembling a good and planning for the sale and communicating that status to your customers. Now, also really important, if you're in the accounting and finance, you really can now understand the true cost of goods sold. So what we've seen with clients in the past, when they're trying to handle this manually, things often get expensed. They don't get included in the cost of goods sold. You don't know what all the costs are. And what you end up with is an incorrect cost. So if I have an incorrect cost, then I cannot calculate my profitability, and I really can't manage the business that well. So because of the automation, everything's included, right? So it's raw materials, it might be labor, it might be assembly cost, shipping costs, landed costs, and other costs. All these can be included, so you come up with a true cost of goods sold. And you have literally a real-time view as to what your costs are, and then you can report on true order or order profitability, or even item level or component level profitability. So this is really powerful. So that's kind of a quick intro into outsourced manufacturing and where we see the automation adds value. I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about some other tools that we use to help our clients kind of around the outsourced manufacturing, and we'll go into a little detail on that. And the reason to talk about these now is, so once the process is automated, then you can start to look at automating the connections, right? So 2 things to look at, 2 tools we're going to talk about. One is, how do I connect my tool? So I'm using Oracle NetSuite. I want to quickly connect it to other tools that I may have internally, or I may want to connect it to vendors or customers or things like that. So that's the technology has really come a long way in the last couple of years, where we used to help clients writing interfaces and integrations between systems. That's mostly gone away, and we use tools such as Workato to automatically connect things. So here's an example from Logitech, right? A lot of us are familiar with them. They make mice and other computer tools. tools. They're using the tool with Oracle, for example, to connect basically a whole process, right? So I've got my ERP system, I've got my shipping, I've got money transfers, I've got customer support. So it's all handled automatically between the tool. And the difference between, let's say, writing an integration, I'd have to write a bunch right here, and using a tool like this is it's really, it's all drag and drop. Here's an example, right? So I have a recipe, they call it a recipe. I can automatically connect my ERP system, so maybe it's NetSuite, maybe it's SAP or Oracle or something else. I can automatically connect it just by dragging and dropping and writing my own business rules with other systems. So in this example, I'm searching for inventory items. If my inventory item has a particular Salesforce product name, I can add it. I can connect it to Salesforce. There's a lot I can do with this. This doesn't require a programmer or an IT to put this together. So that's kind of the beauty. So we literally went from it would be a week or more, depending on the complexity, to connect clients, to doing it in hours or days, right? So what you can connect and automate is really, really powerful as well. And it doesn't just have to be the ERP system. So say, for example, with the talking about outsourced manufacturing, if I wanted to automatically update my customers with the status of their bite, for example, well, I can easily write a connector where I just pull the information from the outsourced manufacturing info into Workato, and then I connect it to my customer. I can send it to them via any method they want, whether it's email or it's chat or things like that, or even a chat bot. So this is where the connections become very, very powerful. Another thing that we see clients doing a lot is robotic process automation. So you might have heard of that. What that really is, it's another automation tool, and it emulates a person by executing manual repetitive tasks. And then you can make rules based on those decisions. And then you can do something with the data, either with your existing applications or applications for your customer or your vendor. So if you look at outsourced manufacturing, the more you do, the more communications you're going to have with vendors. So you get into the area of vendor management. So a lot of vendor management is done via email and spreadsheets back and forth. So if these are things that are happening over and over and over again, then this is where robotic process automation becomes quite powerful. So you can do things, for example, the robot opens the email, collects the spreadsheet, reads the spreadsheets, makes certain decisions based on the rules. So maybe for example, it's the factory sending a status of where they are in particular orders. You can take the order number, you can take the item information, and you can do something with that information. You can update your system automatically, or you might want to update the customer system. Again, it's really, really powerful once you get the business process right. So we've actually done it ourselves. We have a robot we wrote recently. We named him Adam, and he saved us. We measured the results. We actually received a 455% increase in productivity for that business process, and the speed was 82% faster. So it runs, of course, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week if we want, 365 days a year. So if you can measure it, it's really, really powerful. The robots can log into any application. They can move files and folders around, read and write to databases, scrape data from the web. We have a client that's using it to scrape competitor information or pricing information from the web and then make some decisions based on that. It can extract content from documents. I mentioned spreadsheets, but also PDFs, emails, forms, make calculations and decisions. So really, the trick is to make sure that the process is repeatable and it's rule based. Right now, it can always raise up exceptions for a human to act on, but the more it can automate, the better. Anything can be automated. I mean, the focus of this discussion is on supply chain. So supply chain we see a lot, especially in inventory management, demand and supply planning, invoice and contract management. But there's other areas of the business that can benefit as well. So one last example, and I'm going to take it a little beyond the outsourced manufacturing, but I'm going to use that as the core, just so you can get an idea of how powerful this stuff can be if the process is well thought out. So most companies have an organization. It's a kind of a core. It might be an enterprise resource planning system. In our case, in our example for this webinar, let's just assume outsourced manufacturing is happening in there. And then I've got internal things I need to deal with. So it might be email, messaging, product design, project management, manufacturing, marketing. So other systems that I need to work with. So the example we had earlier of sales. So maybe I want to communicate to my customers, where their product is in the build process. And then I've got external things I need to deal with. So I've got customers, I've got vendors, I've got partners, e-commerce, social media. Now, and this is where the robots and the automation we see sort of sits on the outside of your core, and it helps to connect these, right? So I can look at a tool like Workato, or I can build an integration really quickly, or it might be a robot that's better suited. It really depends on what the other technologies are and what the business process is. But between those two solutions, you've pretty much covered all your options. Now, I've got all this information, and then what can I do with it? So the robots, the automation, really it feeds data into, we could call it an information lake, a data warehouse. There's lots of names for it. But the key point is you have all this within your organization, and you can collect it from there and also from your external partners. You can do a lot with it. And then you can look at, we see clients now looking at external drivers. So maybe there's some market intelligence. Maybe there's demographics, depending on who I sell to. Even maybe weather, if weather impacts my sales, or competitor info. These are all easy to access now, both from public data sets and with the automation, right? So the effort it used to take to collect these by hand, to sort through it, to organize it, to match it up with my internal information, that becomes so much easier with the automation tool. So again, that flows into my information, and then I can take advantage of that with just basic business intelligence, and then if I want to get more advanced, I can use machine learning models and things like that to do predictive analysis. But even just getting to this point with the basic business intelligence helps you to create your KPIs, your key performance indicators, and actually manage them on a daily basis for yourself and your team. So that adds value across the organization, both with finance, with operations, sales, tracking sales and pipeline, marketing, supply chain, and even HR, managing your workforce. So we've kind of gone a little beyond the outsourced manufacturing, but it's just expanding the concept. So again, I have all this information that's sitting around, and using the automation, both from the core system and the external systems and solutions, there's a lot I can do with it if I just think it through. So when you think about automation, though, you really want to think, plan it ahead a little bit. It doesn't have to be hard, but first step is understand the process you're trying to automate, define the workflow, what data is required, what systems are impacted, and this will drive what tools you want to use. Business users involved, you want to get their input. And then we always recommend to do a quick pilot. And how long is that going to take? As I showed earlier, with a lot of these tools, these no-code, low-code tools, it really doesn't take long to do a pilot. It can take just a few days or up to a week or so. So that's where we get involved a lot with helping clients, is determining a pilot and helping them understand what the business value is, and then you can expand from there. So it's really quick and easy to get up and running. So again, the three solutions that we look at, and this pretty much covers everything an organization would need to do. So Oracle NetSuite is it's cloud-based enterprise resource planning solution. It's a fantastic platform. It's a single platform. It's multi-company, multi-country, multi-currency, and it handles the end-to-end business processes of almost every organization, from customer relationship management to e-commerce, supply chain, services, warehouse, manufacturing. And there's a lot more you can do with it as well. Workato, as I mentioned, is a leader in no-code automation and integration. Another benefit that I didn't mention is there's thousands of connectors that are pre-built, right? So you can just take what's already out there. It allows you to jumpstart things. If you're connecting two applications like NetSuite and Salesforce, that's very popular. Most likely the connectors are already there. So it's quite easy to get up and running. And then UiPath is a leader in robotic process automation. So again, you automate repetitive processes across an organization. If a human can do it and they're doing it all the time, then it's pretty much a good candidate for looking at an RPA type of tool. And the way those are designed, it's quite easy to come up with a business case, because you can see how long it takes the human to do it, and then you can figure out what the cost is for the robot and how much money you can save. But I think actually the most important thing is it frees up the humans on your team to do more valuable activities, such as analysis or anything that's not just entering data and managing data. So that's probably where the most value comes in. But it's still quite easy to measure it on just a time saving basis. So next steps. Thanks for attending. If you want a copy of this presentation, let us know. We're happy to arrange a custom demonstration and review on any of these topics. As I said, you can really go down to a screen-by-screen view of the outsourced manufacturing if you want to, and show you all the different things you can do with it. We just kind of touched on what the basic process is and some of the benefits of the automation. We can also look at Workato or UiPath in the context of outsourced manufacturing, or if you're just interested in them in general, let us know. If you're interested in a free trial, we can arrange that as well. As I said, doing a quick pilot is quite easy, and all these solutions offer a free trial, so we can set that up and give you some assistance with that. We also work with clients on a business case development. So a lot of clients will say, well, I know I can automate a lot of stuff, but I want to measure the value I'm providing to the business. So we have some templates. We can help with that. It's really quite easy, and it's a very fun exercise as well to go through, look at your processes, come up with what you can automate, and figure out how much you can save with the automation. So please contact us if you're interested in any of those three things. I'll spend just maybe 2 minutes talking about OnePacific. So what is OnePacific? We've got team members working on these technologies for more than 10 years. We are based in Asia. But we support clients actually all over the world. So you can see from the chart down there, most of our clients are in the Asia region, but we do support their offices around the world. So we're very multicultural and very global consultancy as well. Our three main solutions are Oracle NetSuite, UiPath, and Workato, because that really covers everything you would need to do within an organization. And we do everything from business process design to full service implementation of the tools. As an area I mentioned before, we're starting to work a lot more with clients in dashboards and KPI design development, because they've got more data. They can actually do something with it, something valuable with it. So that's a really interesting area to work with. This is outsourced manufacturing. The context is kind of around sourcing. So this is just an example of some of the sourcing clients we've worked with over the last couple of years. So as I said, the sourcing clients, as they focus more on quality and product development, the outsourced manufacturing becomes more and more attractive to get the type of products and quality that they need. But we do more than that. We actually work with manufacturing companies, financial services, startups and high techs, and some e-commerce and distribution as well. So feel free to go to our website. We've got some really interesting client videos on there that I think are quite useful. But the last thing, really, what's our approach? I do want to say we have what we call a business model first approach. So we work with the client to understand what their business model is. So how do they operate? How do they make money? And this helps us to come up with solutions that provide the most value, right? So we can look at your business model. We can give you advice on what areas might be the most useful to automate first, for example. So you get the most value, the most bang for your buck right out of the gate. And we define and we drive our projects based on business metrics, right? So we want, when we finish a project with the client, we want them to say, yes, we've been able to accomplish this, and now we can do this. And we have a very structured delivery methodology. So we make sure that what we develop and deliver can be handed over to our clients so they can operate it as well. So again, thanks for your time today. Much appreciated. If you have any questions or you want any more information on any of the topics, feel free to contact me or anyone at OnePacific. You can go to our website. This is the first of 4 webinars we're going to do on sourcing. So keep an eye out on your mailbox, and you'll see the invites for the rest of them coming up over the next few weeks. Thanks very much.